Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and to another episode of my Kazakhstan travel series. If Kazakhstan has ever crossed your mind, or you're just dreaming of a foreign trip that feels like Europe but doesn't drain your wallet, then this video is just made for you. I'll be diving into everything you need to know to plan your perfect Kazakhstan trip, and I will be talking about flights, visas, currencies, food, apps, what to pack, what to eat, where to stay, and a lot more. So we went on a 6-night, 7 days adventure in the early June this year, mostly exploring Almaty, which is the cultural and commercial heart of Kazakhstan. And yes, if you have got a couple of more days, you can definitely add Astana, which is the capital, to your itinerary as well. Now, we were traveling during a pretty tense geopolitical moment, with flight disruptions, changing rules almost every day. So I'll be sharing some hard-earned travel tips that could save your trip, your money, and definitely your sanity. So let's dive in. Every time I think of planning a foreign trip, the first thing that hits me is the visa process. Forms, embassy appointments, those never ending waits is honestly such a buzzkill, isn't it? And that's exactly why Kazakhstan is so awesome. Because Indians don't need a visa to visit Kazakhstan. Yes, you heard it right. If you have an Indian passport with at least 6 months of validity, you can literally just book your flights, land in Almaty, and enjoy it up to 14 days visa free in this gorgeous country. Pretty amazing start, isn't it? But hold on, there's one small catch that you really don't want to miss. When you are exiting India, you will be asked to show a valid return or onward ticket from Kazakhstan. If you are flying back to India, great, just make sure that the tickets is confirmed and handy. But if you are planning to continue your journey to another country which has visa for Indians like Uzbekistan, it gets a bit tricky. Just having a ticket to Tashkent isn't enough. You also need to show a valid visa for the next country. So no jokes, one fellow traveler we met at Delhi airport had the exact issue. Their Uzbekistan visa hadn't arrived yet, and without a return ticket from Almaty, they were not allowed to board from Delhi. So they had to book a fully refundable ticket back to India on the spot just to make it through the check-ins. So here's the golden takeaway. Always carry a confirmed return or onward ticket. If you are hopping to another country, make sure your visa is already approved. And if there is even a little uncertainty, just book a refundable ticket as a backup. It's worth the peace of mind than all the hassles at the airport. Okay, now let's talk about the next most important and often the priciest part of your Kazakhstan trip, which is the flights. So here's the good news. If you can manage the cost for your flight, everything else, stay, food, transport, is pretty much at par with Indian prices. And seriously, it's that affordable once you land. Earlier, we had 3 main options of flying from India to Kazakhstan: Air Astana, which is Kazakhstan's national airline, Uzbekistan Airways, and Indigo, the budget-friendly favorite. But in May, due to the India-Pakistan airspace restrictions, Indigo suspended its flights to Kazakhstan. That leaves us with Air Astana and Uzbekistan Airways. I personally chose Air Astana for 2 big reasons. One, there's something special about experiencing a country through its national airline. And it offers direct flights from Delhi to Almaty, only 3 hours and 10 minutes, so it's super smooth. Well, Uzbekistan Airways doesn't offer direct flights to Almaty, so you'll have a long 5 to 6 hours layover in Tashkent, and honestly, that's a day wasted, especially if you're tight on the time. So if you're looking for convenience and speed, I did 100% recommend Air Astana. I booked my tickets to make my trip, but you can also check Skyscanner for comparisons or book directly from the Air Astana's official website. Just a heads up, the payment gateway sometimes doesn't work for Indian cards unless you use a VPN. Or better, you can call the Air Astana India customer care directly for the booking. So on their contact page, you can check the support numbers from Kazakhstan, as well as you can select the location Mumbai or Delhi and get the local numbers for support. Now let's talk some numbers. Flights definitely are the costliest part of a Kazakhstan trip, and everything else is easy on the wallet. And that's why I highly recommend booking a refundable or a partially refundable ticket, especially with the world being so unpredictable. Pandemics, wars, etc. So I booked mine in the late February for a June trip, and by May, things had got tense again between India and Pakistan. Many travelers who booked cheap non-refundable tickets lost their money. Indigo did refund passengers, but only because they cancelled the flight in that case. But if you are going to cancel first, then the ticket isn't refundable. In my case, Air Astana suspended flights until May 18th, and there were reschedules even after that. But thankfully, things got back just in time, and our flight went very smoothly. We even flew over the Pakistan airspace. If you book really early, say 2 to 3 months in advance, you can get really good deals. And we paid around 21,800 for a fully refundable trip from Delhi to Almaty one way. Right now also, if you check the website of Make My Trip, you can see the flights are still in the same range for October flights. Not bad at all, right? Especially when some domestic flights in India are equally expensive. And here's the bonus. Air Astana now flies from Mumbai to Almaty too, and the flight takes around 4 hours 50 minutes. So if you are based in the west, this is super convenient. Let's talk about money, because that's the first thing most of us think about while planning a trip. How much is this gonna cost me in my currency? So here's the deal. Kazakhstan uses the Kazakhstani tenge, and that's KZT, and as of July 2025, the exchange rate is given on the screen. So if you're carrying 10,000 rupees, you will get about 61,400 tenge in return. Not bad, right? Especially because Kazakhstan is actually pretty affordable and it is at par with your Indian expenses. This is really a no-brainer. The best currency to carry is USD. It's most widely accepted for exchange. It's easy to convert at any place, airport, exchange booths and banks, and it gets you better exchange rates than any other currency. And can you carry Indian rupees? Technically yes, but I will not recommend because not all currency exchange booths will accept it. So carry USD. Now once you land, you will need cash right away, like for SIM card, cab ride, or even hotel check-ins if you are paying upfront. So here's what I recommend. Exchange around 100 USD at the airport itself. The rates there aren't too bad and it will easily take care of your day one expenses, especially if you are landing very late in the night. After that, once you're in the city, you will find currency exchange booths pretty much everywhere, especially near places like Green Bazaar, or you can also use your international debit or credit card to withdraw tenge at local ATMs. You can also use your Forex card to swipe at some mall or restaurants or any other such upscale places. Now, quick tip, always carry your passport when exchanging money because every counter will ask for it. So, cash or card, what works where? So, this is important. If you're going to buy snacks or souvenirs from local markets or take buses or taxis or eat at any tiny neighborhood cafe, then carry cash. These places usually don't accept cards. But for restaurants, big stores or malls, hotels or more upmarket places, your international debit and credit card will work just fine. So here's your smart money checklist. Exchange $100 at the airport for your first day. Withdraw more tenge once you are in the city. Use cash for local rides, food stalls and shopping. Use cards for hotels, restaurants and bigger spends. Ask your host or hotel staff where to exchange for the best rates. And always carry your passport when exchanging money. One of the first things we all do after landing in a new country is looking for a SIM card. Because how else will you check Google Maps, use Translate, order a cab, or post that just landed story on Instagram, right? So here's the lowdown on how to stay connected in Kazakhstan. There are three main mobile operators here: Tele2, Beeline, Kcell. I went with Beeline and it worked perfectly throughout the trip. The only place I lost signal was deep in the forest during our Candy Lake hike, which honestly was expected, but otherwise it was smooth sailing. Google, Instagram, Facebook, Maps, all sorted. And trust me, if you're a small group, one SIM card with hotspot is honestly enough. Most hotels and Airbnbs have great Wi-Fi, so you will mostly use mobile data when you are out exploring. These are the different plans as of June 2025, and you can pick any of the SIMs based on your budget and your duration of stay. I used the 40 GB Beeline plan, which was sufficient for my 7-day trip. My suggestion, just get it from the airport. Yes, it may be 50 to 100 rupees more than the city shops, but it's so worth it for the convenience. You land, grab your luggage, walk to the kiosk, and boom, you're connected before even leaving the terminal. Plus, the Beeline folks helped me set up the Yandex Go app and the InDrive app, which I used immediately to get to my Airbnb. But if you want to wait, you can also get it from the mobile stores in the city. It has better rates but takes time. Some convenience stores and sometimes even hotel help you arrange one. But just remember, passport is mandatory for buying the SIMs. If your phone supports eSIM, that is also an option. Apps like Airlo, Siley or Holafly lets you download a data plan even before you land. But quick warning, I have heard from many other travelers that sometimes certain eSIMs has issues with social media apps or network stability. So if you are choosing an eSIM, do your research. If you are planning a trip to Kazakhstan, then you have to download certain essential apps before you land. And trust me, I relied on them every single day, from ordering cabs to translating restaurant menus and figuring out directions in the middle of nowhere. The first one is Yandex.Go, and this is the Uber of Kazakhstan. This is going to be your main ride-hailing app while you are here. It's super smooth, affordable, and available in most of the cities, including Almaty and Astana, and you can even select English as your app language. But it may happen that when you are getting a new SIM in Kazakhstan, sometimes the Yandex.Go app doesn't activate with that SIM. So in that case, you need to have an alternate backup. And that brings us to InDrive, the app that totally saved us when Yandex.Go decided to be moody and refused to register with the new SIM that I had just bought at the airport. With InDrive, you can manually set your price and wait for the driver to accept it. It's not like Yandex Instant, but it gets the job done. You'll just need cash to pay to the driver directly. Definitely worth having as a backup. Let's go to the navigation apps now. Tugis or 2GIS is an excellent navigation and mapping app, especially for detailed city maps and business directories. Unlike Google Maps, it provides highly accurate building layouts, entrance locations, and even offline maps, which is incredibly useful when traveling without internet access. The only catch here is most of the things is shown in local language, not in English. So at times you may face some difficulties, but you can get over with it. The next app is Yandex Maps. Now don't confuse this with Yandex.Go, which is totally different. Yandex Map is a separate app, more like your travel buddy when you're figuring out routes. And unlike 2GIS, the best part is it actually gives you information in English, which is a total relief. It is super detailed and highly helpful when you're trying to find the best way to get from point A to point B. It also gives detailed architectural views of the buildings, which is really interesting to see. One feature I absolutely loved, you can see the public transport like buses, trolleybus, even trams moving in real time on the maps. So if you're tracking a particular bus, you can see where the bus is, which stop it has reached, and accordingly you can plan your trip. So if you're planning to take the bus up to Shimbulak or around the city, this app is a game changer. If you are planning a trip to Kazakhstan, Google Translate, especially the Google Lens feature, is going to be your best friend. Because once you're outside the main touristy areas, you will realize English is almost non-existent. Everything from shop signs, menus, product labels, it's all in Kazakh or Russian. But here's the magic. Just point your camera using Google Lens and instantly translation on your screen is available. I used it everywhere in supermarkets, museum, local bazaars like Green Bazaar, and even while bargaining. Just type out your sentence in English, show them the translated version, or better, use the mic option to have a two-way conversation. And honestly, it saved me so many times. So you cannot survive smoothly in Kazakhstan without this. Now let's go to the next category, which is the delivery apps. So let's be real. Some days on a trip you are just too tired to step out, or maybe it's raining, or you just want to eat in your pajamas. That is where these two lifesaver apps come in. First up is Glovo. It is not just a food delivery app. You can order everything from restaurant meals to groceries, even pharmacy stuff. Basically anything you need delivered right to your doorstep. I would say it's kind like Dunzo in India, super useful when you are new in the city and don't want to run around hunting for basics. And then there is Yandex Eats, your Kazakhstani version of Zomato or Swiggy. You'll find all popular restaurants, cafes, fast food joints, just a few taps and your food is on the way. Okay, one last app. And while it's not a must-have, it's honestly made my life so much easier. You know how every time when you are shopping abroad, your brain automatically calculates how much is this in Indian rupees, and then you start mentally doing the math? Well, say goodbye to that stress. I use this currency converter app that lets you convert any currency to INR instantly. Just type in the amount and you know exactly how much you are spending. So whether it's buying chocolates, magnets, ceramic in Almaty or haggling at a souvenir shop in Samarkand, it gave me that peace of mind before spending. And the best part, it supports almost every currency in the world. So it's not just handy in Kazakhstan, it's a great travel buddy for anywhere you go. Now let's talk about what are your stay options in Kazakhstan, because the right stay can make or break your experience. You've got three main stay options when you are in Kazakhstan. The first is Airbnb or rental apartments, which is perfect for families or groups. The second is hotel, which is great for the convenience. The third is the hostel, which is a backpacker or solo traveler's paradise, budget-friendly option and great place to meet your fellow travelers. And the most unique stay is a yurt, which are specialty stays in the village where you can spend the night in a nomadic way under the stars. Airbnb is my top pick. If you ask me, I 100% recommend staying in an Airbnb, especially if you are in Kazakhstan for more than 3-4 days. Even if you don't plan to cook, an Airbnb gives you that cozy coming back to home feeling after a long day of sightseeing. And unlike hotels, you are not confined to just a bed and a table. You get space to stretch out, a living room, sometimes even a balcony with a mountain view. We cooked a lot during our trip and it honestly saved us from craving Indian food. The local markets in Almaty are amazing. Fresh produce, great ingredients, and it is so satisfying to whip up your own meal after a day out. I'll show you a full apartment tour in a separate video soon, but just know we came back refreshed every evening, not drained like you often feel in hotels. Here's a checklist for choosing the right B&B. First, location. Staying right in the heart like Abay or Arbat is great, but also more expensive. And honestly, most places are just 6 to 10 minutes Yandex ride away. So staying a bit outside the center can save you money without compromise. Second, is there a lift? Don't overlook this. Many buildings do not have elevators and climbing stairs with heavy bags at midnight, no deal. Third, supermarket. First thing you will need is a drinking water, so having a market nearby is super handy. Fourth, gated complex. Look for a gated building with an entry code. It just adds to the peace of mind. Fifth, food joints around. On days you are too tired to cook, it's a blessing to have a restaurant or a cafe nearby. Sixth, public transport. If you're planning a visit to Shimbulak or taking the bus regularly, check if there is a stop near your B&B. 7. Heating, and 8th, AC. Cold months, ensure there is enough heating in the entire apartment. If it is a hot month, don't forget to check for the AC. And the last one, our kitchen basic. Ask your host what utensils are provided. Carry small essentials like strainer if needed. Number 2 and number 3 options are hotels and hostels. So hotels are great if you are someone who loves the convenience of breakfast buffet and doesn't want to worry about making a meal. It's a plug and play. Clean room, fresh towels, food downstairs, done. But personally, I find eating out 3 times a day for 4-5 days can get exhausting, and honestly, it's a bit hard on the tummy too. When it comes to hostels, if you're on a tighter budget or traveling solo, hostels are a fun way to meet other travelers. And Kazakhstan has some really clean modern hostels, especially in the Almaty and Nur Sultan area. You'll get a bed, shared kitchen, sometimes even group tours or cultural nights. Perfect for backpackers. Coming to the fourth option, which is yurt or village homestays. Now, here's something totally unique. If you are heading to places like Sati village or around Kolsai lakes, don't miss the chance to stay in a yurt. It's a traditional nomadic hut. It is simple, rustic, and super memorable. You can also stay in a villager's home. These are warm, humble setups but filled with heart. And the food they serve is delicious homemade Kazakh meals. So it's recommended that if you have the budget, you can definitely stay one night at a yurt or a village homestay. Let's talk about food in Almaty, because if you are Indian, especially vegetarian, I know that is one of the top questions on your mind. So here's the good news, you won't go hungry here. You just need to plan a little smartly. First of all, if you eat chicken or lamb, Almaty is actually amazing. The meat is fresh, the flavors are subtle, and the local cuisine has some great grilled dishes. But here's a very important heads up. Always check what meat is being served. Beef and even horse meat are extremely common local food, so just be careful while ordering. For vegetarians, the options are a little limited when eating out, especially traditional Kazakh restaurants. But again, it's not impossible. You will find places with basic veg pizzas, pastas, and rice dishes. And there are some cafes and international food joints that offer vegetarian meals. But if you are exploring remote areas on your day trips like Sharon Canyon or Kolsai Lake, there won't be many food options. So you have got to carry your own stuff if you are strictly vegetarian. That's why we chose to stay in an Airbnb with a kitchen, and honestly, it made our trip so much easier and much more enjoyable. We carried some ready to eat Indian meals like upma, poha, cup noodles, uh, grocery staples like rice, dal, etc. Once we reached, we went to the local market and picked up eggs, chicken, fresh vegetables, and fruits, everything you need to whip up a good home style meal. The produce here is just beautiful, and the bread section in the supermarket, just don't miss them. Soft, fresh, and baked daily, perfect with tea or soup. And here's a little tip: carry your Indian masalas. Maybe a small bottle of ghee also, and some basic items like jeera, hing, chai patti. You'll thank yourself later. I'll actually do a detailed video soon showing what we all packed from home and simple meals we cooked at our Airbnb. So, whether you are a vegetarian or non vegetarian, as long as you plan ahead, you are going to eat really well in Almaty. Let's talk about something I was honestly a bit stressed about before my trip: what to wear in Almaty. Being a Central Asian country, I assumed I did have to dress quite modestly all the time, but the reality, it surprised me in the best way. Almaty has a very modern cosmopolitan vibe. People are stylish, trendy, and dressed very much like what you'd see in any European city. I saw everything from jeans, tank tops, and short skirts to dresses and athleisure. And at the same time, I also saw women in abayas and hijabs. So, really, it's a city where personal choice is respected and there is no strict dress code in public spaces. That said, religious places do expect modest dressing. Like when you visit the Ascension Cathedral, women are expected to cover their heads, arms, and knees, so always carry a scarf or a shawl just in case. It's more about being respectful than following any hard rule. Now, if you're heading to places like Shimbulak or Big Almaty Lake, remember even in summer it can get windy or chilly, so pack a light jacket or scarf. Also, weather can change quickly and a sudden rain can drop the temperature, so a foldable raincoat or a quick dry jacket really comes handy. If you are visiting in winter, be prepared. It snows in Almaty and the temperatures can dip well below zero. You will need proper thermal wear, padded jackets, snow boots, gloves, beanies, and the works. So overall, Almaty gives you a lot of freedom when it comes to clothing. Just keep in mind the weather and be respectful when visiting religious or cultural landmarks. And you'll be perfectly dressed for every kind of adventure. The best time to visit Kazakhstan is during spring, which is April to June, and autumn, September to October. These months offer mild weather, making it ideal for exploring the country's diverse landscapes and attractions. Summers can be very hot and winters are extremely cold, so these shoulder seasons provide the most comfortable conditions for travel. If we specifically look at the seasons, then spring is basically when the country wakes up after a long winter. Think of blooming tulips, fresh greenery, and pleasant temperatures. So the pros are nature is vibrant, perfect for visiting lakes, canyons, countryside. There's a great weather for city exploration and outdoor hikes, and less touristy compared to summer. And the cons would be that, spring can still be a little chilly, especially in the mountains. There can also be occasional rains, so pack smart. Summer is the peak season, sunny, buzzing with activity, and perfect for road trips or mountain getaways. The pros are that all roads, trails, and alpine passes are open. It's best time for hiking, camping, and visiting places like the canyon and lakes. Also, Almaty has a super lively vibe with pop-ups, open-air cafes, and events at this time. But the cons, it can get really hot during the day. There are more tourists, so higher the prices at some spots. And insect and sunburns are pretty common in the wild, so carry a repellent and sunscreen. Coming to autumn, golden leaves, misty mornings, and a romantic, peaceful air. So Kazakhstan in fall is honestly underrated. The pros can be perfect temperature, neither hot nor freezing, fewer tourists, cheaper stays. Fall foliage in the mountains is really breathtaking, and great for photography and slow travel. The cons can be the days start getting shorter. Late autumn can feel a bit grey and cold, especially in the northern regions. And finally, winter. It's like a snow-dusted fairy tale if you are into winter sports or if you love cozying up in the cold. Pros are like ideal for skiing, snowboarding, and snow-covered landscape. Shimbulak Ski Resort is a must. Unique local experiences like steam, saunas, winter markets, and warm, hearty Kazakh meals are a top thing to try. There are fewer crowds and good deals on accommodation. The corns can be brutally cold in some of the areas, and temperature can drop up till minus 20 degree or lower. Some hiking trails and roads to the lakes may be closed, and you will need proper winter gear, not just a jacket. Think thermals, gloves, and waterproof boots. So, honestly, it depends on what you want to experience because each season here paints a completely different picture. So, plan based on your vibe. Kazakhstan has something magical in every season. And now, coming to one of the most awaited parts, the sample itinerary. We traveled in June, so this is a summer friendly itinerary that we personally followed. If you're planning a trip in winter, don't worry, most of the attraction will still remain open apart from a few natural spots like lakes. But places like Shimbulak will transform into a winter wonderland, so winter has its own magic. Also, we only explored Almaty this time, but if you have a couple of extra days, then I highly recommend adding Astana to your plan. So here's our relaxed yet wholesome 6 nights 7 days itinerary for Almaty. Day 1. Take the 3 p.m. flight from Delhi and you will land in Almaty by around 6 p.m. local time. After immigration, get a local SIM from the airport and book a Yandex cab and head to your Airbnb or hotel. Don't plan anything heavy for day 1, relax and pack and just settle into the Kazakh rhythm. Day 2. Time to get familiar with the city. Start with the Green Bazaar, perfect to pick up some fresh fruit, vegetables, snacks or even spices if you plan to cook. Right next door is the Rahat Chocolate Factory outlet, a must visit. And if you are in an Airbnb and planning a canyon day trip next day, do some bulk meal prep today. In the evening, maybe stroll through the supermarket or mall. Even grocery stores here are fun to explore. Day 3. This is a full day canyon and lakes tour, so this is your big nature day covering Sharon Canyon, Candy Lake and Kolsai Lake. Leave early, pack your own food if you're vegetarian or want something familiar. Options en route are very limited. It's a long but epic day. You will come back exhausted but in awe. Day 4 is all about lazy morning and city vibes. Sleep in and treat yourself to a slow brunch. We recommend Degriman for Turkish kebab and their amazing fruit tea. Spend your day wandering around the Arbat street, shop for local teas, nuts, dry fruits at the bazaar again, or visit a museum if you like culture. In the evening, go for Koktobe, take the cable car, soak in sunset views, and watch the TV tower light up. It's pure magic. Day 5. Head to the Shimbulak Mountain Resort. Ski in winter or enjoy cool views and cable car rides in the summer. Return to the city for a global food experience. Turkish, Korean or Italian, Almaty has it all. Relax in the afternoon and spend your evening at the Arbat street. If it's a Friday, expect live music, pop-ups and street performances. Enjoy your day with a nice dinner and a scoop of gelato. Day 6 is a flexible additional day. You can either do another day trip to Issyk Lake or stay in the city and tick off what you missed. Start with the beautiful Ascension Cathedral and stroll through the park of 28 Panfilo of Guardsmen. Then you can do some souvenir shopping before heading to the Almaty Zoo. Definitely don't miss this in the summer. End the day with the final Arbat street walk, have a nice dinner and maybe some gelato and soak in your last night in this beautiful city. Day 7, it's time to pack up both your bags and your heart full of memories. Almaty is one of those cities that stay with you, clean, peaceful, scenic and full of surprises. One important note, if you are visiting in winter, note that places like Candy Lake might be closed due to the snow, but on the flip side, Shimbulak turns into a winter wonderland, so just adjust your days accordingly. And before we end, let's do a quick round of some of the most asked questions I got about traveling to Kazakhstan from India. How much money should I carry? If you are not a big spender, $500 USD per person is honestly enough for a 6 to 7 day trip. And this covered my SIM card, stay, guided tours, entry tickets, foods, ranging from simple home cooked meals to splurging at local restaurants, local transport, and even shopping. And no, we didn't feel like we were cutting corners at all. In fact, we came back with a little surplus. But if you plan to shop a lot or eat fancy meals every day, then definitely budget a bit extra. Is travel insurance mandatory? It's not mandatory for Indian citizens, but I highly recommend it, especially if you are traveling with kids or senior citizens. Make sure it covers medical emergencies, theft, and trip cancellations. And if you would like me to share the travel insurance I used and why, drop a comment. I will do a dedicated video on that. Is Kazakhstan safe for solo Indian travelers, especially women? Yes, 100%. I traveled with my mom and we were often out late, even returning from lake and canyon tours after the sunset, and the roads still had people. And we never felt unsafe. No shady stairs, no weird vibes. Just follow regular safety measures and use trusted apps like Yandex Taxi for travel, and you will be safe. Can I drink tap water in Kazakhstan? No. Stick to the bottled water. If you're staying in an Airbnb, grab one of those 5-liter jars from the supermarket. It's cheaper and convenient. You can also carry a portable purifier if you like. Before wrapping up this video, here's a budget breakdown for a 6-night, 7-day trip to Kazakhstan. And since we stayed in an Airbnb and had breakfast and dinner at home, we managed to save a lot on the food. So overall, Kazakhstan is not a very expensive country, and if you can manage the flight cost, then there is no one stopping you from enjoying this gorgeous country. And that brings us to the end of this guide. I hope this video answered most of your questions and gave you a real feel of what to expect, from where to stay, where to eat, how to plan your days, and even how much to budget. Kazakhstan truly surprised me with its beauty, warmth, and affordability. Whether you are a mountain lover, a cultural explorer, a foodie, or someone just craving for a unique offbeat experience, it has something for you. If this video helped you, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share it with your travel buddies, and of course subscribe so that you don't miss the upcoming vlogs, especially the detailed Almaty apartment tour, the packing list, and the canyon adventure vlog. And if you have any more questions, drop them in the comments. I always reply. Till then, happy planning. Hope to see you in Kazakhstan soon. Bye for now and see you in the next one.